Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am the Motorcycle Rescuer and this is Motorcycle Rescuer. Okay everyone, welcome back. Yeah, it's an interesting build this. I think lots of you are accepting this build for what it is, and I think that's because of the honesty of the build. We're not saying we're building the best, whatever you want to call it, brat bike in the world. It's a cheap and cheerful eBay Chinese build. And there's a coolness to that, because you can all do that for what, 100 quid? There's a coolness to it, definitely. But also there's, it's cheap crap Chinese parts. So I think there's a nice kind of vulnerability to that actually. I think there's something quite cool. But this is where we are at the moment. Now, the kind of actions I need to do today, ideally, I have to admit I'm slightly hungover. It's not regular, but it was a friend's birthday last night and I've only had 4 hours sleep. So slightly hungover, but I do want to get this kind of back up and running. Now, these are the kinds of things I'd like to do. I want the seat bolted down. I want the rear light wired up. I'd like 4 indicators to be on and flashing. That's the kind of basics. I want the new indicators I'm using to be on and flashing. I'd like to get the exhaust wrapped. I'm going to wrap the exhaust and then I'm going to put on the end pipe. Now I'm going to show you the end pipe that I've chosen. And it's a bit of a love-hate relationship between me and this pipe. I have used them before. I do like the sound, but I'll explain after when I'm doing it what I dislike. Now, lots of you threw out the same comment online, which, by the way, extremely helpful. Now, I'm not going with this yet. Not going with this yet, but I have ordered it because, honestly, loads of you said, put a side plate on it. So I do prefer the kind of dead straight down the line look, if I'm being honest, guys. And then the other part of me liked the idea of the strip light that one of you mentioned, but ultimately I can also run a plate down on the side if I feel that I need to. This bracket is solid, I'm not worried about it. I prefer this look, but if that look looks a bit too homemade, which it kind of does for me, I will go to this one down here, which isn't an issue. You just run the wiring down and you'll be absolutely fine. No issues there at all. So, what are we doing next? I kind of always get to this stage on this bike and I think, what am I doing next? And then I kind of struggle with what to do. I think I need to drill the holes for the seat bolt. I think that's kind of the key. I need to be able to bolt this seat down. Now, what I've noticed is that we've got quite a gap under the seat. So, I need to bolster it. And what you do is, you just add to these because they're in the right place, but they need to be taller, and if that middle one's not doing anything, then I'll reuse that. So you need to basically stick things on here, rubber, to kind of make it sit flat. And the other thing, someone mentioned they didn't like these bolts. I'll chop them down and I'll paint them black. You won't really see them. The last piece of advice somebody talked about was cutting the front of the seat. Yep, I think that's a good idea, but these bolts are quite close. I'd want to still use these because it does need to be locked down at the front. So it's very tempting. It was a great idea. So you pull up the staples, you cut away the front, and it sits more forward. It's still... honestly, I didn't think the plastic went up this far, actually. It's still potentially a good idea. I'm going to consider it. If I can get the seat looking okay, and then obviously you'll have a more flush sit there. But again, we're going for a cheap and cheerful basic build, so not overly worried about that. I want to get this seat bolted down, so I need to start the drilling process for the one long bolt that I'm going across from left to right. Alright guys, I've drilled the pilot holes, so it's going to be a bolt that goes all the way through left to right. I'll trim it off I basically picked up a long thread, and yeah, I basically picked up a long thread, and we'll bolt it all the way through. Got Sultan's Frago over here. I've not seen him for over a week now. He was a bit sulky when he ran out of fuel. He gets a bit sulky sometimes. You know, I think Nat and Daniel and a couple of you made it quite clear. You said, you know, it happens to everyone. Stop your moaning, basically. And actually, he needs to. And then, I mean, look at the state of this thing. This thing should be undercover. It should be locked up. It should be at his home, where he can run it. He's got the insurance and everything. So I'm going to throw the key in. I'll let it sit for a little while. And I mean, I know what he's going to do. He's going to come back. He's going to say, I need to sell it, or I want to sell it. He's just so flittery with bikes, and that's fine. I don't mind. I just get a bit sick of them coming through me and then him moving them on, if I'm being honest. So let's see what Sultan's plan is with that. If I was him, I would have followed through. I would have got it ULEZ compliant. I swear, you've added, once he's got it ULEZ compliant, he's added money to that thing, and I've got my racing pipes, and this bike sounds and runs amazing with them on. It sounds much better than this crap. So get it ULEZ compliant, chuck them on, and sell it. Make a couple £100. But yeah, you need to have some focus. Obviously, John's still here. We're still working on the Bonnie, but that's a separate video that I need to throw up at some point. But I've filmed so much of it now that it's quite hard to edit it to kind of manageable chunks. Right, I need to make these holes bigger. Get the seat kind of on, slotted in for its kind of final destination, and we'll see where we go from there. I think I need to do 2 separate holes here and here as well for the indicators. Although ideally I don't want to be going through the frame too much, so I'm going to see if I can do something different or better with the indicators. For example, I could make a little bracket off here, and we could have them back there. It's not an issue as long as it's not near your legs. Ah, good point that some of you brought up. A really good point. Even though I know this is a single seat, and in my head this is a single seat, even though I know that, I've made this bike a single seater. For MOT, because I've removed the rear pegs, you do technically need to do something here. Now, I believe that could be as simple as a bag. I believe, if I'm right, you could simply strap a bag on there and take it for MOT and make it clear that that's not a rear seat. I might borrow Gary's hump bag, or I might even buy one, actually, a black one. Did you know that, John? No. So nowadays, MOT, you remove the foot pegs, they want the seat capped off.
Put spikes in it.
Put spikes in the seat?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he might sit on it. And then I'll never pass an MOT again. Yeah, I think it's a bit picky, that, if I'm being honest. If you say no one's travelling on the back, then no one's travelling on the back. I mean, yeah, but we'll get it done. I was thinking the other day, I don't feel like I've done enough of the charitable side, but I am overly critical about that. You know, to be fair, people are always dropping in and getting work done, and I promise you, never ever do I take a penny, except for the very basics. Like this guy, this bike's been sitting now 2 years, COVID, in fact it'll be longer, 3 years. Now I know this bike ran and rode at one point because it was me who serviced it, but I haven't seen it for 2.5, 3 years. So I know it does the basics. Now, annoyingly, it hasn't got a kickstart, and it's electric start, and it hasn't got a battery at all. But ultimately, we need to suck out the old fuel, clean the carb, put in fresh fuel, pump the tyres, get it a battery, and take it for an MOT. It will then be a a passable bike. It's actually, if I remember rightly, it ran and rode well. He says that I said that the shocks, that something wasn't right with the shocks, so I'll check that out. He said that I said that, so maybe I advised him something about the shocks, and then, I mean, he's put it away anyway and hasn't used it since. So I think, I mean, obviously this is my focus for today, but in the background at times I'm going to do bits and pieces on this. I will show you, But ultimately it needs a clean. I might even push it down. In fact, no, I'll wait till it's running again, then I'll take it to jet wash. Ultimately it needs a clean, it needs a service, it needs an MOT, it needs a new battery for the MOT, and it needs the old fuel out, new fuel in. It will probably cost battery 30, MOT 40, 70. It probably cost 100 quid from the charity funds, but actually it saves a bike for a local, a nice guy. So always very happy to take some of the funds and do that. Don't get me wrong, the charity doesn't store any funds. It's always going out. There's no bank account. So it's about what I've got on that day. Lots of you send me bikes, which I love, by the way, as in, you know, this is on Marketplace. And I wish I had the funds to go and get them all, but I really don't. It's always about selling something, taking 100 or 2 from that, doing something like this, doing something on the side for myself to get more funds to do something like this. I love my channel. I love you guys. I love the community it kind of creates, if I'm being honest. Right, I do want to get this seat kind of at least able to be bolted down. So I'm going to keep drilling away here. Once I've got a bolt all the way through and I know I can do that, I'll feel much happier. So give me a few minutes, well, give me a few seconds for you. For me, it's probably going to be a few minutes. I'm going to get it drilled through, and then I'll find the securing bolt that I bought. In fact, here it is, look. Come on, there it is. So you just buy a long old thread like that, and then of course you shape it, cut it down to size, and then you'll have a bolt that goes all the way through and secures the seat. Again, with seats and tanks, you can use, I really wouldn't feel awkward about using mini bungees, for example, which is what I was considering. So you get a bungee cord, any bungee cord. Of course, there's always plenty, except for when you want them. I would quite happily get a bungee cord, so annoying, and cut it down, and I would quite happily bungee this down to itself, the rear of the seat, because these bikes had that back in the day, and it's an MOT pass. But I think for my peace of mind, putting a bolt through will make me feel better. So let's get that done. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. That's it, as simple as that. And then of course we put a nut on this end, and then we put a nut on that end, and then we cut it down, and we hope that when we put the seat on that it all fits through without having to mess around. Blatantly, that won't happen. Great, I'm going to see, actually, just out of kind of curiosity, if we can get it nipped on, and then I'm going to look at where the gaps are, mark it up, and get some rubber under there to take some of the strain, exactly like I showed you before. So I'm going to at least get that on and push it through so I can kind of mark it all up at this stage. Guys, so you can see the bolts there, and look, and also you can hang a flag off the end if you want. You know what that is? That's a COVID 1.5 meter distance screw. Guys, do you think that nut's big enough? I think it probably is. So what I want to do is I want to put a bolt on this end, get this end kind of comfortably nipped up, and then I'll mark this end with a little bit of a gap left over, and then we're good. That seat is rock solid, guys. It's exactly what we want. And then, like I said, mark up the gaps. I'll show you what I mean there. That's what I mean. So look, between here, between there and there, and just bulk it out so that when a chunky monkey sits on it, you know, they don't look like a chunky monkey. They look like they're floating on air, and the seat stays straight. Good. We're getting in a good direction here, guys. This is the mocking up stuff. This is the stuff that takes longest. Then all the kind of wiring takes a while as well. Indicators and so on and so on, but we're getting there. Okay, everyone, so for full disclosure, and to be fair, John's been telling me the bracket I made isn't quite it would work for a while, but then it's going to fatigue and break. So it needs a supporting bracket, which I'll make out of sheet metal. Now, in my head, I'm just going to do another oval here, across here and down, and I'll bolt it on this side and maybe bolt it on that side or whatever. So I'm going to make a kind of oval here to give it a bit of support, and we'll stop that. But ultimately, that is how the plate's going to be sitting. Now, that's a full-size plate. Now, I cheekily do use one size down and always get away with it. I go one size down, I always get away with it, even for MOT. But if I've got this one, I'll have this on for MOT, and then I'll one plate down for final sale, and it will just look that little bit neater. So we're getting there. The seat can be bolted on. I need to add some reinforcement to that, and then we'll be looking at exhaust stuff and so on. This, I mean, in my head, guys, I'm gonna fly through this stuff every week. I'm gonna get it all done really quickly, and then in reality, 5 hours later, it feels like you've done nothing, but you've not. Here, we're always kind of working back and forward around each other, and it just sometimes the progress feels quite slow, you know. So, right, reinforcement. Okay, guys, so kind of wrapping up for today. Rear bracket's done, much better. I'm just going to let that bit of paint dry, and then tomorrow that will go on at the right angle, which is all good. I made a hole in there and through the bracket so that we can send the wires through, which is great. I can't remember what this wire's for. I've got black wire in there. I'll change it to black and I'll hide it. I think I ran an indicator wire back. So we'll work that out. So I think we'll see more progress on the next video, but it is going in the right direction. I'm very happy that the seat can be bolted. The rear light's going to be on and working. It's indicators next.